the next year. And you watch it. I mean, I can already see it happening. From the time that I wrote my article criticizing Fiji TV, right, and especially now that it's very, very imminent that there's going to be competition coming in, you see the offerings of Fiji TV, have changed, right? They now have a program there on talk business or whatever. They have a lot more of have your say kind of thing, and all of a sudden there are these local content programs which are coming on which have never been there. At the time that I wrote that article on television monopoly, and my criticisms are all there in the article in the book, you read through it, right? And you'll see that many of those criticisms are still valid today. Not just this business about educating, indigenous people, in their own language about what's happening and all that. But also I said, okay, here is a media that everybody sits around at home and watches, far more than reading newspapers. The television is an absolutely powerful medium. Here you've got in Solomon's, Vanuatu, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, a whole heap of people who are facing, the forces of globalization in ways which they can't comprehend and which is totally transforming their lives. Some ways for the good, in some ways for the absolute bad, right? Television has a great potential actually to help prepare our people, for this great big world order. And one of the things that has horrified me about Fiji TV is that to date, you don't have a program, for example, that talks to our people about what the possibilities are in the computing world, in using the internet, in using emails, in using mobile phones and all that. Here is a completely new field which has actually come on in the last 15 years, and yet there's nothing. It's like a weekly program, even for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, going across to our people, explaining to them, look, this is what you can do, right? There's no program. Everybody talks about the absolute collapse of agriculture. If you watch an Australian television program, ABC, you will see, absolutely strong programs on what farmers in Australia are doing, in agriculture, in irrigation, in water preservation, anti-disease thing and so on, in research and development. Their farmers have become, globalized scientific farmers. Our farmers out there are still producing, their bundles of dalo and cassava in the old ways, and they're trying to compete, with potato chips and, twisties and all these kinds of things. Absolutely no way in hell that they're going to compete. And what is a television station doing about educating our rural people, our farmers, about what the possibilities are? Yeah, nothing. They don't even do creative journalism programs, right? To go and explore, key problems that are there, for example, on the altar leases and all that. They'll do something. They're doing a lot more now, I must say, And now the competition is around the corner. But over the years, they haven't been doing all that. And as for music and all that, well, when was the last time you talk about the pending demise of all of our Pacific Island cultures and languages and all that? When was the last time you saw a series of programs on Fiji television? And here is a theme which is so visual, it could be so powerful, which explores, for example, the history of Meke, in Fiji, which takes you through country, region by region, etc. And explains, how Fiji and Mekes are different over time, what they were before, how they have been changed by being near to a tourism industry or whatever. Very visual, very musical, how topical. You could do one, across the region, looking at actually how Pacific Island dance, etc. and so on. It's so fantastic and different and diverse and all that in terms of its origins, in terms of the rhythms that they use and all that. When was the last time you saw that happening? None. Yeah. You think about all the things actually, which you'd like to see happening on. There's these television programs on cooking, right? Beautiful, sitting over, gas stove and mixing this. There's a guy there who's very, very, with it and all that. Mixing these exotic, ingredients and all that. When was the last time you saw on television somebody do a great logo? Right? And for me, my favorite, of course, is the Tongan logo. It's the never fail kind of a logo. It's very different from a Fijian logo. When's the last time you saw some Samoan make a palusami? Samoan palusami is absolutely fabulous compared to what we sometimes do, right? But actually seeing it on camera, when did you see last time some Gujarati woman, on television camera making the sev and the bhajia and these things, which actually are absolutely delightful. They're based on our local foods and all that, and which a lot of other people could actually, emulate. Nothing. Yeah? When was the last time you saw a program on television which encourages each other to learn each other's language? Even just 5 minutes, every night, when there's a news item in Fijian or English, there's the English, subtitles, which explains in a different language what it means. When is the last time the Fiji television, played something which came from Papua New Guinea and, Kiribati and Solomons and Vanuatu and Tonga? Nothing. And here we are, we're supposed to create this great, Pacific identity. Hey, what is our television company doing about it? So, it's again, I think there's a real problem that, I know television companies have to make money as well. Let's face it, they do have to make money. But believe you me, our television company has made lots and lots of money, lots and lots of it well ahead of time. And there's another research story for those of you who are doing journalism and economics. Go and look at the original prospectus, and they projected what money they were going to make in what year, and then look at actually what they have made and which year they made it. Here's a little interesting story, right? And they wanted monopoly because they said this business is very unprofitable. Here's another interesting theme you could actually do a research on. They say, you can't screen, Super 12 rugby, Super 14 rugby on our normal channel because, our normal channel is actually, is non-commercial. We can only do it on the commercial one where people have to pay. But people who actually watch the normal free television, you pay $4 million a year because of the advertising revenues that they get. You pay through all the higher prices that people charge, because when they advertise on television, of course they bump their prices up to cover the advertisement costs. So you're paying. But the ordinary poor people in this country won't see a Super 14 rugby game because they're not rich enough to actually subscribe and pay $500 or $600 a year. When they can't even pay $100 for their children's school fees sometimes, right? And if you
fill up the prime time with all American programming, which is another thing.
That's another thing. You look at. The only programs I really like actually on television, is one is that Boston Legal one, which is I find it, and All Creatures Great and Small. That's my favorite two programs.
I want to mention one other thing because you mentioned about programs on agriculture. I grew up in India and I think we had one program which we as kids used to hate. It was specifically for farmers, a half-hour program right before the 8 o'clock news, so that eventually the whole country at some point, the last 10 minutes we were watching. First 20 minutes was totally about farming techniques, and they would actually bring farmers from different places and interview them, and the last 10 minutes were folk music and folk dances. And that actually helped a lot in India developing and becoming self-sustaining in food and everything. Because it made a big thing. And because of that, the country provided free televisions to different centers, and farmers used to go watch it at that time.
From being a food deficit country, India became a food surplus country, exporting elsewhere, which was astonishing, given it's supposed to be a country where people were starving and all that.
We don't want it to end, but we've gone almost an hour over, so that tells us how much we enjoyed it. Thank you so much. This was great, and we'd like to have you over again. Thank you.